Good morning, friends. This is Casey with Aligned Astrology. Today we're talking about the new moon in the sign of Gemini. The sign of Gemini is the sign of the messenger. We can refer to Mercury as a messenger of the gods because of how quickly it moves, how often it connects with the sun and every other planet in the zodiac. But when Mercury usually connects with a particular planet, including the sun, it's preparing to go retrograde. So, later this month, mid-June, Mercury is going to station retrograde in the sign of Cancer. And it's always good to talk about what the dispositor or the ruler of the new moon is doing because it's going to give us the initial flavor of what this lunation cycle is bringing for our lives. Since we've been recently going over fixed stars lately, we're going to talk about a fixed star today as well. This lunation cycle, this new moon in Gemini, is going to be culminating at 24 degrees. And we have the fixed star Capella in a close conjunction at 22 degrees, according to my software. And this fixed star Capella is one of the more benefic fixed stars. So this can initially begin to inform us that this might be a positive lunation cycle. But we have to take into consideration that things may come to a halt since Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde. But when we pull up the chart, we'll look into it in a more detailed way. We can remember that we have experienced one of the greatest benefic conjunctions of our year with Jupiter and Venus conjoining the sign of Cancer. And since Mercury's there, Mercury's got to be getting in on the action, right? But since it's going to be stationing direct right before it reaches Jupiter, maybe our endeavors towards the things we wanted to achieve, the connections we wanted to have, or the communication with people might be slowing down, giving us an opportunity to possibly redirect ourselves or change our mind, change the understanding of what we might have received from a new mentor or some new knowledge we're receiving from this very lunation cycle. And to dive into the fixed star Capella, and I'm very new to these fixed stars, so we're learning together on this channel. But the fixed star Capella is, like I said, one of the more benefic fixed stars, and it is closely correlated to intelligence. Makes sense since it's in the same sign as the messenger in the sign of Gemini, right? But it is correlated with learning and teaching as well. It's correlated with fame through knowledge too. So there's an opportunity for us to create something, to teach something, to invent something, and begin to share it with the world, or even begin to learn from a teacher in a more intimate way, especially since we have Mercury in the sign of Cancer, which is closely correlated to our emotions. It's correlated to women. It's also correlated to our ability to be of nurturing, care, love, and service to another person, someone who we are close to, most likely. So maybe we welcome somebody new into our lives that can be of great benefit to us with this fixed star in close conjunction. But if we are using this lunation cycle as an opportunity to create something, maybe it's the time to really hunker down and figure out what it is that we want to develop, really come up with a plan. Maybe we receive that insight, that clarity on how we want to go about these different things. But we're going to get into it, and we're going to pull up a chart so we can really begin to understand how this lunation cycle is playing a part in our experience. We're going to share the chart for June 14th, this Sunday. If you're in America, it's going to be Sunday night, Eastern Direct Time, when this lunation cycle culminates in the sign of Gemini. And here we have the new moon culminating at 24 degrees in close conjunction to the fixed star Capella, basically informing us that this lunation cycle is planting a seed for us to grow something new, an insight, a relationship connection, the will to think in a different way, to operate in a different way in a new relationship that we've been connecting with. And I'm going to move the chart forward just a bit so we can look together at the movements of Mercury. Because Mercury, as the dispositor of this new moon, is flavoring it, is giving the energy. We rely on Mercury to give a more clear understanding of how this full moon or this new moon is affecting us. But Mercury begins to move forward towards Jupiter until we reach January 24th. We see it starts to slow down. It reaches 25 degrees on the 23rd and starts to station. So it doesn't come into that conjunction with Jupiter. It stops right before it's in that exact 3-degree orb range. So it can show us that great things are present for us. And we have to take into consideration that this retrograde of Mercury occurs right on the full moon in Capricorn. And when the time comes, we'll talk about that one too, friends. But they're connected. They're deeply connected. So we'll return to the 14th and talk more about what we can receive from this lunation cycle, what we can begin to grow. And since Mercury is in the sign of Cancer, the sign of the mother, the nurturing expression, and we have the moon in the sign of Gemini, in the sign of the messenger of the gods. These two planets, of course, cannot see one another since they are reversed. They are right next to each other according to the houses, but they're in one another's homes. So usually when we talk about planets being in one another's homes, they're mutually receptive. They have a connection. So they're working together with one another. And this is another positive insight. They're in sort of a conjunction type of energy. So with the fixed star Capella in the mix, showing curiosity, creativity, ingenuity, gives us an opportunity to really realize what we might want to do for ourselves. And it's going to be different for each one of us based on our rising sign in a particular part of our lives. So it can be something that we're doing for ourselves, for our finances, for our career, for our home and our family, for our own creative endeavors, for our relationships. It's very broad to talk about on a mundane public scale. So this is why it's nice to do the horoscopes and talk about a little bit more individuality. Of course, we can't hit on each person. There's millions and billions of us on this planet with different zodiac placements. So if you are interested in knowing how this lunation affects you directly, you can sign up for a reading with me My link's always in the bio below, where you can sign up for a reading on my website. As we talk about this lunation cycle with Mercury in the sign of Cancer, we tend to think about our familial relationships. We also tend to think about the relationships that nurture us. It's not necessarily always our family that holds that candle. It can be our friends. It can be our partners, our husbands, our wives, our boyfriends or girlfriends. These people in our lives can be of great support. And it can be a new mentor that comes into our experience, that opens our eyes to the power that we have within ourselves, the things that we need to grow, the things that we need to share, express, and learn how to teach. And we can gain this insight and this experience through the connections with these people. Mercury's all about connections and communication, the mind, the intellect, how we choose to share ourselves. So, as this lunation cycle begins to unfold, I invite you to prepare yourselves to understand the shift that is afoot. With Uranus co-present this new moon, which will be here for the next 7 years, Uranus is always going to have its input when it enters into a new sign. So we can begin to ask ourselves how Uranus plays a part in this. And when Mercury goes retrograde, maybe it's going to show its face more. Maybe it's going to help us to see the new direction that we need to go in, or the new way of communication that we need to share, or if we are creating something, how we need to share this thing now, whatever it may be, whether it's a course that we're developing, a book that we're writing. That Mercury retrograde is going to be something very beneficial for us, so it seems, since it's so closely connecting to Jupiter before stations to go retrograde, and it's given us an opportunity to really see the power of this new moon. So let's take a little bit of time, friends, and let's go over the horoscopes together. We're going to start with Aries in the first house as usual. So, placing Aries in the first house for our Aries Risings. And remember, friends, you have the free will to listen to any zodiac sign and every zodiac sign, as long as it's beneficial for you and your understanding of this astrological form of divination. Whether your sun is in Aries, your moon is in Aries, you have any planetary bodies in the sign of Aries, maybe it can be beneficial to you to listen to a particular zodiac sign. But when we listen to our own rising sign, it gives us a closer understanding of how this particular lunation cycle, this new moon in Gemini, affects our whole sign house system. For example, me as a Scorpio rising is experiencing this new moon in Gemini in the 8th house. That does not change according to my tropical whole sign chart. So if you don't know yours, feel free to reach out to me. I can share it with you. But we're going to start with Aries Risings. Aries Risings are experiencing this new moon in Gemini in the 3rd house. And once again, this fixed star Capella is conjoining Mercury, or this new moon in Gemini, giving us the curiosity to discover or create something new. With Mercury in the 4th house, in our place of solitude, our place of family and foundation, I always like to say this is the place where we are free. We can do exactly as we please. We can be our true self. There's no need to put on a mask in this place. And Mercury here can invite us to connect closely with our family, closely with our spouse, our children, the people that we live with, and it can give us some insight, some clarity to understand how our daily life can change for the better, what we can create. The third house is correlated with communications, connections. It can be correlated with writing and learning. Maybe we are in the midst of developing something that we want to share. So for Aries Risings, notice how this third house new moon is showing up in your experience. Taurus Risings will experience this new moon in Gemini in the second house. And the second house is always correlated with our assets. It is correlated with our skill sets. It's correlated with the things that we have access to, the things that we use for our own benefit, for our support. And having a new moon here can show that we are putting our skills to use. We're creating something with them. We're getting more curious about different things. And this is something that is not unusual when we have Uranus co-present. Uranus, once again, is that planet that makes us take a 180-degree turn. Maybe we gain some clarity about the things that we've been doing for a while now, and we want to make a shift. We have a newborn longing within ourselves. Mercury in the third house, in the sign of Cancer, in our day-to-day experiences, the connections we have, the people we connect closely to, can be showing us a new relationship, a new connection, giving us a new insight towards the skills that we have. How can we put them to a different use? How can we benefit the people around us? How can we dig into our creative bag and share something new with the community that surrounds us? For Taurus Risings, notice what consistent efforts we are going to begin taking. Gemini Risings will experience this new moon in the first house. And it is always interesting when a new moon comes about in the first house, regardless of the sign, but especially for you guys, Gemini Risings, having Uranus in the first house. It is great to be able to experience such dynamic shifts. And of course, it's going to last for 7 years, but we need to be mindful of these points in time. These lunation cycles spark a new beginning, especially in the sign of Capella. We gain a great insight around ourselves. It could be around our health, our physical bodies, how we see ourselves, what we want to achieve with our own physical bodies, and what directions we're going to go in. With Mercury in the second house of our skills, our own financial well-being as well, can show that it is up to us, like with our own physical body, with what we've learned about ourselves. Maybe we've learned how to heal ourselves, and we can use these skills in order to create something new, to make money, to benefit our own business endeavors. A lot of the times when Uranus comes into the first house, it's making a complete and total shift, a total transition towards a new outlook on life, a new understanding around ourselves. When we change ourselves, the world around us changes. This is simply how life works. We can have no control over the things outside of ourselves, but we have total and complete control over the decisions we make, how we see ourselves, and the actions that we take. So for you, Gemini Risings, notice the great opportunity that is being presented to you. Cancer Risings, we have this new moon in the 12th house, The 12th house is the hidden place. It is the place that is under the radar. We call this another place of solitude, a place of exile. In traditional astrology, we refer to it as the place of hidden enemies. And most of the time, we are our own worst enemy, stepping on our own toes, preventing our own selves from achieving things based on an underlying fear that we may have, or a sense of comfort that we are living with. So, with this new moon in the sign of Gemini, we have Mercury in our first house. So this can be I guess we could say not a let's say it, a come to Jesus moment where we begin to realize something more about ourselves, when we begin to notice the importance of our own well-being, of our own mind and expression. With a fixed star Capella in the 12th house here, maybe in our dreams, maybe in our moments of meditation and stillness, we can come to a reasonable understanding of a direction that we need to go in, how we can be connecting with our communities, and maybe it's an opportunity to develop something more from ourselves. Usually when we talk about the 12th house, it is something that can kind of go over our head, especially when it's a new moon. New moons are usually very internal things. When we have full moons, it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. But new moons, especially in the 12th house, call for us to settle down, to find some stillness, some moments for ourselves to really begin to see what's going on. Especially having the dispositor of this new moon in the 12th house and the first house gives us the opportunity to look at ourselves first. This is where we need to remember ourselves, friends. Leo Risings have this new moon in the 11th house, the 11th house of community and good fortune. The 11th house of community, where the messenger, the house of the messenger is, can show us that clusters of communities, like different connections we have in a community, these acquaintances that we are connecting with, can open a door for us to receive some sort of benefit. The fixed star Capella here, giving us room for curiosity, giving us room for intellectual gain and insight, can show us the support of people around us is very beneficial for us now. Now with Cancer in the 12th house and the dispositor Mercury here, these people, these connections, maybe the insight can come out of the blue that we receive. But in this time, Leo Risings, it's going to be important for us to be connecting with the community around us, the people around us. And maybe these communities have been changing over time and will continue to change, especially when Uranus comes into that trine aspect to Pluto, and we begin to see ourselves more deeply through the eyes of our community, more clearly, and we can gain an insight of how these community connections really play a part in the transformation of our lives and how we share ourselves, how we're seen, especially since Jupiter also was preparing to move into our first house, Leo Rising. This is going to be a big change for us. Please refer to your Cancer Rising friends for support and understanding from their past year. But this is the new moon in the 11th house, Leo. Understand what community is doing for you now. Virgo Risings are experiencing this new moon in the 10th house of career and public rule. Virgo, this is a good one for us. So it seems, right? Uranus has already entered into the 10th house, which has began to cause us to question our careers, our public works, what people know us for. Maybe they are changing dramatically. And having a new moon here is pushing us more in that direction to develop and create something new. The fixed star Capella is supporting us in that positive endeavor. But Mercury here, which is moving towards Jupiter, is a very positive omen. But remember, when we enter into our full moon lunation cycle with the full moon in Capricorn, that Jupiter is going to come to that Mercury is going to come to a halt right before connecting with Jupiter. So it can show us that all these great endeavors begin. We start walking along the path of whatever goal it is that we want to achieve, and it comes to a halt for a moment. It gives us an opportunity to go inward. When Mercury goes retrograde for Virgo Risings, it's important for us to recognize we need to stop for a moment. We need to slow down and be mindful of the direction that we're entering into and what needs to change, what needs to be corrected before we continue to move forward. This is going to be closely connected with our community, what we offer to the community. What can we be of support to the community with? What skill sets have we cultivated? What businesses or inventions can we bring to the forefront that can be beneficial for the world, for the people around us, for Virgo Risings? Libra Rising, friends, you have this new moon in the 9th house of higher learning, long distance travel. It's an opportunity to go somewhere else, to connect with communities in a different part of the world, or connect with people who open the door for us to travel more, to learn more, to shift the direction of our own knowledge and understanding. Fixed star Capella can show us how we can create something that has to do with travel. Maybe we begin traveling around the world and sharing something. And since Mercury is closely connected to this new moon being the ruler of the new moon, it's in our 10th house of career and public roles. So maybe we make travel into a career, and maybe we have the plan, maybe we're embarking on it, maybe we're actually taking action towards these things and being consistent with our endeavors. But remember, Mercury is going to station retrograde. It's going to come to a pause and give us an opportunity to go inward. So we can take these things into consideration, friends, and remember, whatever endeavors that we choose to embark on can and will come into fruition. We just need to know the direction. How can they be beneficial to the people that we want to support? Scorpio Rising, you have this new moon in the 8th house. The 8th house is correlated with other people's money or karmic ties. I always like to speak about this 8th house being correlated with the esteem of others, and it's usually our partners, our partnerships. So it's how these people see us. And having a new moon here conjoined the fixed star Capella can show that we are developing something new, maybe creating a system of education for people to learn from you in the things you wish to share. Maybe you're developing a new part of your business to share. And remember, Uranus is here right now, so maybe you are embarking on a new journey that has nothing to do with any of the things that you've been doing before. And maybe you learn how to tie them all together. Now, the dispositor Mercury in the sign of Cancer in the 9th house can show that a guru can be coming in to support you. Maybe we're learning something that can be of great benefit to our way of financial gain. The 8th house, 2nd house axis is usually correlated with money and debt and things along these lines. So with a benefic fixed star in conjunction to the new moon, it can show us that whatever or whoever we're connecting with can give us a lot of insight that helps us to support the endeavors that we wish to embark on. And as Mercury goes retrograde near the end of the month, we can really begin to ponder and think deeply of the things that we've gone over once this lunation cycle begins on June 14th and expresses itself in our lives. And as we're present, we can see for ourselves the direction. Sagittarius Risings, we'll have this new moon in the seventh house of one-on-one relationships, partnerships. In traditional astrology, we call this the place of endings. But since this is a new moon, it's a place of beginnings. What needs to end for something new to begin? And usually when we talk about the seventh house, maybe I say this a lot in videos, when we have new moons here, full moons here, it doesn't necessarily mean your relationship is going to end, friends. We a lot of the time we correlate the seventh house with my partner, my husband, my wife, the person I love. But and a lot of times it's connected to that experience, but maybe they're teaching us something new. Maybe they're connecting with someone that we meet that opens the door for us to gain new insight, to receive something beneficial in our lives, or to let go of something that was very harmful in our experience. But the fixed star Capella here cultivates curiosity, once again, ingenuity, and many other things that are correlated with the intellect, the mind. So maybe our partner learns something that opens the door for us to be of benefit to people around us. We have Mercury in the eighth house of the esteem of others, so there's a good chance it's closely connected to a one-on-one relationship in our lives, one that is of great support to us. So for Sagittarius Risings, really dial in to these relationships and notice how the other can be of great support and benefit to us moving down the path that we need for our lives. Capricorn Risings, we have this in the sixth house of work, health, service. And this is very usual for Capricorns, taking that effort, making that effort to achieve something. Capricorns, the seagull, are the ones who want to achieve the goal. So when we have new moons in the sixth house, it's like a new beginning, something new to embark on, a new journey, a new mountain to climb. Fixed star Capella is here, giving us the ingenuity, giving us the curiosity to develop and create something new. And we have the planet Mercury in the sign of Cancer in the seventh house, showing us that maybe there's a relationship connection, a new business partner that comes into play that allows us to develop a business, that allows us to connect and share something that is of positive benefit to other people. A lot of times, the sign of Capricorn wants to achieve the goal and does whatever it takes to achieve this goal, but the underlying truth of Capricorn is that they want to be supportive to someone. They want to care for someone deeply. So here, whatever these efforts are moving us towards is for the support of somebody we care about. And maybe it's in connection with somebody we care about. So notice what endeavors you are embarking on, Capricorn Risings, and the support that you have to guide you there. Aquarius Risings have this new moon in the fifth house of creativity, children, romance. This is a high time for creative endeavors to begin sparking into life. Mercury in the sixth house of work, health, and service can show that whatever things that we choose to create can be of benefit. That is our modus operandi, Aquarius Rising. We want to support the community. We want to show that love and connection to people. We want to be received for the things that we offer. So this is the opportunity to see what that is. With Uranus here in the fifth house, maybe it's been changing lately. And as we move deeper into the Uranus in the fifth house, when it comes in a conjunction with, or not conjunction, when it comes into a trine aspect with Pluto in our first house, we can see how deeply we as ourselves can express through our creative endeavors. So allow this this moment, this opportunity to creativity to be the foundation of something grand and beneficial for the people that surround us. And Pisces Risings, we have this in our fourth house of home, family, foundation, the place where we can be free. And the fourth house, just like the 12th house, these places are places where we can find deep solitude. But here, since it's the sign of Gemini, it can be of the mind. We gain clear insight and clarity for some sort of creative endeavors that we're embarking on. Mercury in the fifth house, closely conjoining Jupiter. Right before it conjoins Jupiter, though, it's going to station retrograde and move back to 16 degrees or so. And then we begin again to gain more insight and clarity along this creative endeavor. But there needs to be a moment for stillness, a moment for silence, a moment for understanding, especially since when we move later into the year, nearing the end of the year, we're going to have that trine aspect with Pluto and Uranus from our 12th house to our 4th house, these places of solitude. So whatever it is that we're developing, whatever it is that we're building, is coming from the depths of our expression, the depths of our beingness. So notice this, Pisces rising. Notice this as whatever it is, whatever curiosity, whatever creativity, it is something that's going to come deep from within inside ourselves. This concludes our horoscope portion. And remember, friends, this new moon is a beginning of something, especially can join this fixed star Capella. We've been going over these fixed stars a lot lately, and they've usually been more challenging, malefic fixed stars, but this one is of more positive understanding. And the positive omens of Mercury conjoining or coming into close proximity to Jupiter can show us the great start that we have, the great joy that we can move towards, the understanding that we can be of benefit to the people who surround us too, can be the fire that's lit beneath us, the motion that pushes us forward. But we must understand that there must be an opportunity for stillness, for understanding, for comprehension and direction. If you like this kind of content, friends, please remember to like the video and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this information. Always happy to have you here. This is Casey with Aligned Astrology. We'll see you next time.